one of the areas that I've reclaimed, which is still a challenge because nobody teaches us, is, let's call it emotional intelligence, right? But it's fucking misunderstood, Martin. It's a buzzword at the moment. And people think you can read a book on emotional intelligence, you can do a podcast on emotional intelligence, you can sit in front of someone and imagine being in their shoes. It's fucking impossible. If you want to connect to someone else at the level of emotion, you have to have a direct experience of what those emotions feel like in your body.
Yeah.
As an example. So if you're one of my clients or one of my players, and I don't have a healthy relationship with my anger, when you get angry, you will trigger the fucking life out of me.
Yeah.
If I've not felt my sorrow, grief and my sadness in my body and I felt it move through me, if I see you being tearful or sobbing or being sad, I will judge you as being weak.
Yeah.
So that's emotional leadership.
Yeah.
You have to do your own embodied somatic work to feel it. So welcome to another episode of the Dare to Be Different podcast. And today I'm going to be interviewed by my co-pilot, Mr. Martin Bone. Martin, it's great to be here with you, mate.
Craig, good afternoon. It's good to see you.
You too, mate. And Martin's going to be interviewing me on the topic of leadership and how in my 52 years on this planet, I've been shaped as a leader.
It's good to see you, Craig. I think knowing that we were going to do a podcast today on leadership, that the drive here and contemplating really. Firstly, it's a pleasure to be here and to interview you, the man himself, and and that sense of leadership that certainly that you brought my life, and it's such a massive topic, isn't it? And I think, having witnessed your journey, certainly from the time we've spent together, and really feeling into how you've been so instrumental in my journey, and leading the way. Leading the way in my personal journey, but then leading the way in more of a collective journey for men.
Yeah.
It's been incredible to watch and to see it continue to unfold. So having you here today and feeling into your story, obviously the theme is leadership, and talking about what it means to you and how that plays out in your life. But obviously, where did this really begin? I think it's important to get a feel of, who you are and where you've come from, and that level of, that from the inception of birth, really, because that's where it all begins, isn't it?
For sure, it is. Well, the first download of leadership is from mother and father, or your significant caregivers. We're born into this world. Or I was born into this world, and they are my king and queen. They are my god and goddess. And I'm watching on how to show up in the world, how to lead in the world. I'm downloading things from my mom. I'm certainly watching my father because he's my symbol of masculine leadership, male leadership. So, what I kind of got from my mom is, or what I got from her at the time, because how I lead now is very different to how I led 20 years ago, for example. But what I got from my mom in those early years of being a boy and growing into teenage years was hard work. As a man, you need to work hard. How to stand up for yourself. I was small, I got bullied. You need to stand up for yourself, Craig. You need to fight for yourself. So she taught me to fight. She taught me to be in charge of my own destiny. Sometimes sometimes I isolate myself because of it, but I am grateful because I'm independent. I can get shit done on my own. And she taught me a dogged drive and fight, really.
Yeah.
From my father, I don't remember him actually verbally teaching me anything or showing me how to do anything in the classic kind of father, child, teacher, student role. I don't remember that. But what he modelled to me growing up was also hard work.
Yeah.
And how to provide. And he also modelled playfulness to me. There's a playfulness in me that when I feel safe and secure and comfortable in my own skin, it comes out.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful component of leadership when it arises. But what I chose to do where my father was concerned is, especially as I grew older into early teenage years, I actually rebelled a little bit at the way he lived his life. There was a part of me that said, hang on a minute, that ain't the way I'm going to lead my life. You know, he went, and it wasn't wrong. It was just, for some reason, I chose to rebel against it. My dad worked sometimes 7 days a week, same job for 45 years, provision. That was his download of what it means to be a male leader. You provide. You show love by giving money. You're a provider. You work your balls off. You sacrifice. The only thing is provision. Whereas my mum gave me protection. Dad was provision. Mum was protection. So I guess you could say I grew up as this dogged little kind of guy that was resilient, that could push through things, and occasionally was playful. But I didn't want to do what my dad was doing. I didn't want to be in a job for 50 years and work 7 days a week. I knew there was another way of leading.
Do you remember as a child, like, almost having any natural leadership? You know, was you someone in the playground that, you know, would lead the way in, you know, making decisions, or, you know, was that evidence very early on in your life?
Well, what I realised early on in my life was I was very, very good at using my body. You know, I was good at every single sport. So obviously I'm going to move into that domain and show more of myself because it gives me a sense of feeling good enough, which I think is important as a leader.
Yeah.
You know, you play British Bulldog on the tarmac,
Schoolyard,
and I was always the last one standing.
Yeah.
Because I could step and I could sidestep and I could swerve and I had timing.
Yeah.
And that led me into the rugby world, and I'd get credit playing with the older guys, like 6-7 years older than me, because I was good.
Yeah.
And then captain of teams. So,
because being good at something,
yeah,
you know what I mean, you know, there's an accolade there, isn't there? You know, you get accredited, don't you, by you know, your school friends.
But it's also important, Martin. Why would I choose to lead in an area that I'm not good at?
Yeah.
It's not going to give me a sense of satisfaction and acceptance, significance and belonging and mastery.
Yeah. So you felt like even in, you know, as a young age, it was in the realm of sport, wasn't it?
For sure.
Yeah.
And I thought I was going to be a professional rugby player. So I was a typical alpha. I thought that's the way men lead. I downloaded most of that from my mum. I downloaded most of the stuff about masculinity from my mum, to be honest, because my dad was doing a certain thing, but I was so close to my mum. I was watching every move that she made. I was watching how she spoke to my father. I was watching what she did on TV and how she projected on TV, and I grew up thinking, my mother seems to love warriors on TV, football players, rugby players, really muscular guys, alpha types, the ones that are hero mentality. So I tried to be a fucking hero.
Yeah.
You know, I was in the gym when I was 11, pumping iron. Yeah. So this tough guy into sport, quest, want to be a hero, wanting to receive accolades. That's the way I led for a while.
Because there's a collective narrative. You know, you're born in Wigan. It's a big rugby place, isn't it? You know, I was born in Liverpool. You know, it's massive on football. So, young lad, you're moving towards footy. For you, it was rugby.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, so you come out your mother's womb, but obviously already your mother and father are, you know, projecting, downloading, you know, and then, you know, you're learning as you go, but then you're contending with your environment, aren't you?
You are.
You know, and so how much did that? I mean, you're still in the rugby world now, Craig.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Full circle,
50 years, you know, down the line.
Yeah.
So you know how. Because I know there was a time where you almost like, you know, you let go rugby, or you just almost couldn't be in and around that container.
Yeah.
But and that was obviously something for you to individually work through and work with. Yeah. And you've reframed it, haven't you?
Of course.
You know, but how did that play out?
I mean, for a while, I used to think, and I'm just laughing, my mum's still alive and I love the bones off her, part of her I don't love, but I'm just... It's like for a while, when I played rugby, and I stopped playing when I was 23, but on this quest to be a professional rugby player and a leader, I love telling people what to do.
Yeah.
I was that type of leader. I'm like, fucking stop that, do that. Are you fucking going to follow me or not? I was that type of leader because that was what I downloaded.
Yeah.
That's what my mum taught me.
It's quite tyrannical, isn't it?
Yeah, it can be tyrannical, yeah, for sure. On the flip side of that, it's probably why I became a good coach and not a professional rugby player.
Yeah.
I was almost destined to tell people what to do.
Yeah.
But then I've managed to shape that and refine that.
Because people need leading, don't they?
Exactly.
They need to be led.
Exactly. And then I started a career as a professional conditioning coach in professional rugby. And
let me just rewind a minute, Craig, you know, because obviously, you know, being a youngster, but then going through your teenage years, you know what I mean? And there was obviously then, you know, the influence isn't mother and father anymore, is it? You know what I mean? You know, it extends, doesn't it? To, you know, so who was your first, you know, that almost that real hero in school? I'm sure it was, you know, probably school teachers or, you know, PE teachers. Where was that, like, that sense of like, wow.
Good question. Well,
who's inspiring me here?
Good question. Well, there was a time, you know, when I got into this thing called men's work, probably about 15 years ago, where I was pointing the finger at my dad, saying, "Dad, you should have done that, and you should have done that." You know, putting everything on him. You should have given me the perfect model of leadership. But life doesn't work like that.
No,
we've all got our dark spots and our light spots, and I remember doing a piece of work with a coach once where he got me to rewind all the way back to childhood and notice other mentors in my life,
influential.
Even if there was only a little piece that I got from them. And it was fascinating because they were all PE teachers. There was a teacher called Mr. Reading in my primary school, and he taught me to believe in myself. He told me I was really good and I could make something of myself. I had a PE teacher called Mr. McLeod, who's one of the greatest mentors to me and many other men around the Wigan area that went to that school. And because I was a great rugby player at school, he loved me but held me accountable and put pressure on me.
Nice.
Saw me for who I was.
Yeah.
And then I had a number of rugby coaches. Cliff Sayer was a guy who he coached me when I was about 13. Eddie Gallagher, who died now. Billy, who also died. A guy called Eddie Southern when I was 15. A guy called Ray when I was 16. John when I was 17. And all these guys had a gentle side to them. Yeah.
On the flip side of that, did you have people in your environment that didn't believe in you, that wasn't leading the way? Almost like was you know, do you know what I mean? You know, because you have people in school going, they believe in you, they're leading the way for you. But on the flip side, you get other teachers who'll be like, I don't believe in you.
Yeah.
You fucking, you know, you waste of space.
Yeah.
You know, did you get a little bit of that as well along the way? Or was you just naturally like a more of a popular kid, quite good at everything and blended in well?
I think because I was good at everything, I blended in well. I think I blended into the cool kids.
Yeah.
I was in the cool kids set. So I kind of, I mean, I got bullied from my older brother when we were kids, but I don't remember being bullied at school so much.
Because these influences, you know, through teachers, can have such a massive effect on our future.
Of course.
You know what I mean?
100%.
You know?
Yeah.
And you know, you have these influential people, peers, teachers, leading the way.
Yeah.
But it can be one or the other, can't it? You know what I mean? You know, you get them kids who aren't so good at things, you know, and then all of a sudden they're just like, they're almost like put to one side, aren't they? You know what I mean? Let's focus on the good kids.
Exactly.
You know, and...
Well, I got a lot of focus because I went to a primary school that was dripped in rugby, and I went to a high school that was one of the most famous rugby league schools in England, so I guess I was lucky from that perspective.
Yeah. And then, you know, how did that then, you know, obviously, you know, going through school, adolescence, who was your greatest influence, you know, especially, you know, because it's a big age, isn't it? You're going from a boy to a man, you know, age 10, 11, 12, then you're in your teens, you know, you're 13 to 19, and then you're in a man's world then.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, and so what you know, how did it lead? You know, who did lead you and what direction did you go in?
Well, I had another influential PE teacher in college called John Ireland. Oh, an angel of a man. Hard and soft, you know, muscular, fitness fanatic, but compassionate.
Yeah.
And he loved me.
Because you're starving to be seen as well, aren't you, at that time?
100%.
You know, you're looking for it, aren't you? Please lead the way.
100%.
Do you know what I mean? I need you to tell me, what I'm good at, or I need you to see me, when I'm achieving, So it's great when, by the signs of it, when you get them people and they just see it.
Yeah.
And they go, okay, I see your qualities, and I may even see, some of your little faults, but I'm gonna lead you.
Yeah, he was significant. What happened with me and my father, especially during my teenage years, was, and I didn't know this at the time, but I do now. My dad came to every single rugby match. He didn't miss a match. He used to clean my boots the night before a game, but I never used to listen to him.
Yeah.
And I used to. He used to give me some feedback, and I didn't respect his feedback. My best mate Aidan, his dad used to play rugby. My dad didn't play rugby. So I'm seeing Aidan's dad, he used to play rugby, and I think he might have played professional. He's giving Aidan feedback, and I'm thinking, I wish I was getting that feedback.
Because even the physical, he probably looked well, and you think, well, I'm going to listen to him because he looks...
Exactly.
But
I downloaded a version of my father through my mum. I didn't know that at the time. Listening to the arguments that they had.
Yeah.
You're pathetic, Jack. You're weak. Yeah. You're this. You're that. And being a bit confused because I'm seeing my mum project greatness onto alpha types.
Yeah, on the TV.
And I'm thinking, hang on a minute, Mum. My dad's like that. Why did you marry my dad?
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, I'm thinking, Dad, I don't want your feedback because you're weak. I don't think that now, but I did at the time.
Yeah.
So, I'm still quite alpha at that time. I'm still leading as this aggressor. And it was all about me.
Yeah.
I remember I was 17 years of age. I was the captain of the team. And I left to go playing for a team in Widnes because it gave me a better chance of playing for Great Britain. And I did play for Great Britain, but I kind of left my teammates.
Yeah.
For selfish reasons,
Yeah.
But at the same time, I was just desperate to sign professional.
Yeah.
And it was a step closer to signing professional rugby league.
Wow. And so what happened after that? What?
After that, I went on a tour.
Did you sign for rugby league?
No, I went on a tour to New Zealand with Great Britain in the 19s. And then I came back. I was a bit disillusional. I kind of shit myself a little bit. I thought I was good, but I went to New Zealand. It was dead physical.
Yeah.
I didn't really show up. I came home thinking, fuck, is rugby really for me? And I just don't think I was destined to be a professional rugby league player. I could have signed for Lee with my mate Andy Fairclough. I remember my dad came, and he signed and I didn't. But there was just something else for me.
And how did that unfold then? Because I assume in and around that time, you're having to stand on your own 2 feet, aren't you?
Yeah.
You're not getting a payout from the world. So you got to make sure you get a job. Where was the income coming from? What was life looking like?
Well, I was lost a little bit, but I had a dad that pulled me out of the shit.
Yeah.
And he pulled me out of the shit a lot of times.
Financially, emotionally.
Yeah. I mean, when I was kind of 19, I was kind of still playing rugby, but I'd packed in college twice. I went to art college, packed it in. I went to sports college, packed it in. I was just fucking playing snooker and bumming about, and I was scared. But my dad pulled me out of the shit financially. And I worked in a crumpet factory, scraping fucking rust off the conveyor belts and cleaning and I worked in a colliery, cleaning fucking black tar off the belts for 8 weeks. Because
sometimes they're really necessary moments, aren't they? Where you're like, you got to feel into that, and it's like, this is necessary, but is this me?
Yeah.
Or is this my life?
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? So you need them reality checks, don't you?
Well, one of the most significant, the best university I ever went to was an odd carrying university. I was a labourer for 2 of my mates for a year and a half. And I wasn't playing that much rugby, and I weren't at college. And it was all right in the summer, but I remember towards the end of it, my mum used to shout me up in the morning, Craig, Barry's waiting for you in the car. And I would cry in bed thinking, what? Not there's anything wrong with working on a building site, but it fucking wasn't for me, mate. I just knew it was not for me. It wasn't where I got a sense of satisfaction and mastery. It wasn't where I could see a future. And I just knew there was something more for me. And that pain, it changed something in me. I grew up. My mother used to fucking do everything for me as a kid.
Yeah.
My brother went in the army when I was 8. he's 12 years older than me, and from the age of 8, my mum fucking did everything for me.
Yeah.
Because she loves me, but also there's an element of control to that as well. So being an odd carrier and having to really work through that and earn my money and earn my crust, but also realising I didn't want to do it anymore, was a painful experience that I needed to feel.
Yeah.
And I grew up. I went back to college after a year. I got distinctions and everything. I got into Liverpool John Moores early because I was a good student. And then I did really well at university. And
so there was a level of excelling into something, turning pain into purpose.
100%. Yeah.
And so, you know, and obviously, you know, in the realm of sport, actually, you know, letting go of, I'm not going to be a rugby player.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, I've tried that. Yeah. It's not going to work out for me.
Yeah.
But I've tried a few of these other jobs, and this is definitely not me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, you know, I assume at the time there was a sense of beginning to figure out what's important.
There was, and I got an opportunity as well. In fact, they're in this building where we are now doing this podcast. I was working in a bar when I was about, I don't know, 21 maybe. And I was just about to go to John Moores University, actually. I got a place. I was working in this bar. And a guy called Phil Clark came in, who you met earlier.
Yeah.
And his brother Andy came in. And Phil's an ex-rugby player, Andy's an agent and an ex-conditioning coach. And they had a company, they still got a company, but they had a company which was kind of working in the health and wellness space, but also Andy was a conditioning coach with different teams, Ireland, Halifax Rugby League, some Wigan players, Liverpool Football Club, rugby league referees, and literally from the day I went to university, I was also working for these guys 25 hours a week. And I was going everywhere with them, learning. I was lecturing in the health space. I was taking warm-ups and sessions and gym sessions, and I was really fit myself. So I was lucky. I got a break. And then when I kind of left university, I was pretty much ready to go. And it wasn't long after that I moved to Ireland, and I was the first ever full-time conditioning coach to work for the Irish rugby team.
Wow. I mean, you know, sometimes like we have to feel into life, don't we? Especially like 2021, you know what I mean? You know, we got to dip our toe into certain things, haven't we? And then, you know, you mentioned the word luck there, and sometimes it's like we need a bit of luck, don't we? You know what I mean? You know, and then we work out what we don't want. And then we sort of move, you know, we're trying a few other bits and bobs, and then there's a bit of an alignment then, isn't there? You know, and then it's like, okay, I'm grabbing onto this. You know, there's
momentum, isn't there?
There's momentum. Yeah. And, you know, it's funny, we talk about leadership, and it's leading the ship, so to speak, and it's like really figuring out that, you know, okay, this is my ship, and where am I setting sail? Do you know what I mean? What am I moving towards? You know, and by the sounds of it, you know, you had direction. You know what I mean? 21, 22. You know, you got some lucky breaks, and I'm sure in them moments you started to really feel into how other people had a sense of belief in you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But also direct experience in being in and around people, influential elders.
Yeah.
Showing you, you know, how it's done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then, you know, so you're learning then, aren't you? You're learning from people around. And then there's a sense of like, I'm maturing into this. Yeah. I'm good at it. Yeah. You know, and so you know, how did that then unfold?
Well, I realised I loved coaching.
Yeah.
But rewind, I actually did my first coaching qualification when I was 16. My PE teacher, who loved us, we were the first ever year to do a GCSE in PE.
Right.
And for our project, we did a rugby league coaching course level 1. Like what the older men were doing, we did it at 16.
Wow.
And I loved it. And then I just remember this actually. And when I was 18, I actually went back into the school for a few months because Steve asked me to coach the under 16s team. So I was coaching the school team when I was 18, 19.
Yeah.
And then I played a bit and then went back to university. But when I went to work for the Irish rugby team, I just loved it. I was so glad that I didn't sign professional rugby league. I was so glad I got on this journey of coaching, and I was fit as a fiddle. And I coached through doing. I had a do as I do attitude. And for the early span of my conditioning coach career, like I'd be in the gym at 6 a.m, refining the lifts and the running drills, and so I could do them better than the players. Yeah. So they could learn through me, like because as a leader, and this is my greatest leadership message to some of my clients, they cannot become what they can't see.
Yeah.
Your father,
Yeah.
your daughter Assis, cannot become what she can't see.
Yeah.
So that started the journey of role modeling, I guess.
Yeah.
And I was really good at. I was a galvanizer.
Yeah.
You know, and,
pioneer, outlier.
But
yeah.
I was also a think out the box kind of guy, and I had this natural talent of being a visionary. I could see where I wanted to take teams and players.
Yeah.
But looking back, in those early years, especially in my 20s and some of my 30s, I was still a dominator. I was still an alpha male. I was still, I don't like the term, but I'm going to use it. I was still expressing some of the toxic masculine stereotypical characteristics that I picked up from the town where I grew up.
Yeah.
You know, you're this coach, you're in shape. Well, go and get loads of women at the weekend, you know, and brag and show off and dominate them and take control of them and conquests and you know, shag as many women as you can. And when you're talking about women, you know, misogyny and I don't like that now. Yeah. But I accept it was part of my journey.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I also don't like that I sometimes still see it in my rugby circles. Yeah. Fucking pisses me off. Yeah. So I'm not happy with that version of myself, but it was a version of myself. But I was still doing that, you know, work hard, drink hard, one of the lads, Monday morning, did you have a shag at the weekend? How was it? Did she give you a blowjob? It's like, it's total disrespect of women. Yeah. You know? Yeah. And I'm not saying we can't have banter, because women have banter about men and men have banter about women, but it was disrespectful. Yeah. And it's what I grew up with, and it's what you grew up with, you know, in the north of England. I
mean, you know, listening to you as well, like, there's a lot of parallels to your story, you know what I mean? And, you know, I think I was playing tennis, you know, I played tennis for a very long time and got to, like, you know, that age of, like, 16, 17, I went to Texas and I went on a bit of an internship and I was away for a number of months. And I was actually offered a massive responsibility. You know, I was only 18, but there was this huge responsibility of teaching, you know, very high profile juniors who were on an, on an internship, so to speak. And then on a weekend we were teaching adults. And I just realised I was good at it. Yeah. And what I realised was that it was about people. Do you know what I mean? And it's about communication. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And when I was, and obviously I was good at tennis, so I had that sort of, that backup of being able to, the proof was in the pudding, so to speak, because I knew the game. So, you know, the thing with rugby is it's like you knew the game, do you know what I mean? And you'll also see the voids in the game, you know, and see maybe what you didn't receive as a youngster, what you could maybe bring in as coaching. And for me, you know, that's intelligence, isn't it? Yeah. You know, to see where the voids in the game are, you know what I mean? What didn't I receive? And I think when I came back from Texas, and I didn't know what I wanted to do, and then I naturally fell into coaching. One of the tennis coaches in David Lloyd, he said, come and have a go, try it for 3 months. I was there for 10 years, you know, and you know, after a couple of years I was the head coach, do you know what I mean? And you know, you're building a junior program, you're building an adult program, you know, you're getting all your qualifications through the LTA, and then there was like this natural, like, leadership. It was natural, you know what I mean? And I also became a really good coach because I was teaching people how I would have loved to be taught, you know, as a youngster, the void, the things that I didn't get, you know what I mean? Plus also the things that I did get. And it allowed me to be a really good coach. Yeah. And you've got to be in the field though, Craig, haven't you? Of course. Because you've got to learn. Yeah. You need that direct experience. You know, failure's a massive teacher, isn't it? It is. You know, and obviously having these people around you, but then being in that process and then still working on, you know, all of your blind spots or all of the things you've picked up and downloaded as a man, you know, and then learning how to navigate and take ownership and move into maturity. Yeah. But it takes a period of time, doesn't it? You can't just do a 360 on your life, can you? Yeah, it does. You know, it takes a period of time, and you know, for me, getting this sense now of listening to you and going, okay, well, the undertones of how you've led comes through your own direct experience and how, you know, you've been taught by others, but how you communicate with the world.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, and how then through, you know, teaching and knowing what lit you up, because you've got to be excited about it, haven't you?
Yeah.
You know, leadership is natural when you're excited.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You know, because you're going, all right, and it almost moves through you, doesn't it?
For sure.
You know what I mean? You know,
when you're leading according to your natural talent.
Yeah. You know, you're able to command.
Yeah, well, exactly. And that was a natural talent for me.
Yeah.
Not every leader has the capacity to bring on a level of command. We all lead in very different ways and unique ways, and that's part of the work that I do with men, helping them to uncover that. But I definitely had this talent of... I had a talent of weaving humour into what I did.
Yeah.
I was a galvanizer, but I also had this talent of being able to bring that commander on. And there was a bit of aggression sometimes, but I knew I had a natural talent for helping men to believe in themselves.
And that's massive, isn't it? You know what I mean? Because it's man management, isn't it? You know, you only have to look at like Jurgen Klopp, for example. Do you know what I mean? And you know, he's a master. He's a magician at, you know, man management.
Yeah.
But you can see he doesn't just do that in a football environment. It's just who he is.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
Exactly, which is authentic leadership.
It's authentic. Yeah. It's authentic.
Exactly.
It's original leadership.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's not forced leadership.
Yeah.
You know, there's a sense of actually, this is what I'm good at. I'm good at communication. I'm good at injecting belief into others. I'm good at negotiating. You know what I mean? And you know, and I'm good at, you know, working things out, finding solutions.
Yeah.
And then helping someone individually, but also helping the team. Because I know you took some teams to some great successes, didn't you? Was it the Wasps? Was it or?
Oh yeah, we had some great success. I was at Wasps for 3 years. We won everything. We were the most successful period of the club. I went to Leicester Tigers. We almost won every single trophy. Worked for Wales, British Lions. So yeah, I had a lot of success, and I was known as this S&C coach that mentored a lot of young interns coming through, and a lot of them have gone on to be successful in their own right. So I had this capacity to mentor as well. And I know I've painted a bad picture about aggression and anger and stuff like that, but I also had a capacity to... I sent a message the other day to a former mentee of mine who's now the conditioning coach for Wigan. Wigan won the Challenge Cup at Wembley, and I said, well done, mate. And his words to me were, I said, well done, mate, you've had a big impact at the club since you've been there. He said, well, I was taught from the best. You taught me it's about the people, not about the process. So I didn't realise at the time, but, you know, I probably put people first. You know, I did lead with strategy. I am a strategist, as you know.
Yeah.
But I think what I brought to rugby at that time is focus on the people. And when I was working for Wasps, every other team had one conditioning coach, and because I had a focus on the people and I wanted the players to feel like we cared about them, and to kick them up the fucking arse so they couldn't fall through the net, you know, the two sides of love, support and challenge. So I went into the coach Warren Gatlin and said, mate, I need 3 more S&C coaches. I said, you've got to find the money. So overnight we had 4 S&C coaches, and then I got in touch with Bath Unit, and we were the first club to have interns. So instead of just having me in the gym, we had 7 of us in the gym.
Wow.
All the other teams had 1. So we created a culture where nobody could fall through the net. Players loved it. They felt like they were seen.
Safe.
They felt safe. They felt not non-judged.
Yeah.
They were always
Supported.
supervised and supported in every single area, and we used to delegate different play groups to different coaches, and everybody does that now, but nobody was doing that at the time. So I guess, in fact, it's nice having this conversation, because I see the link now between then and now, because now my work with men in leadership is very, very much centered around, so if you came to me as a client, my job with you is to help you to reveal your uniqueness as a leader. It's all about you. So all my processes that I do with my clients, it's not methodologies and systems, you need to learn that. It's about you and peeling back the layers of you.
Because I know then when you work individually with a client, you know, you're creating them conditions for the revelations to come, but you know, the you turns into us when you're working with a team.
For sure.
You know, I know you took, it was a Fiji, it was a Uruguay. You know, they had huge success, didn't they, in the last World Cup?
Yeah.
Where, you know, you're creating that sense of us.
Yeah.
Obviously, everyone has their own uniqueness.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But then you create this oneness, this we-ness, this belief where, you know, and it's a lot of it's just emotional connection, isn't it?
Well, we connect through emotions. We don't connect through logic.
Emotional, and then you actually then feel like you belong.
Yeah.
And that's the undertone of success, isn't it?
Well, brotherhood is a massive component of my leadership, and it does relate to early childhood. Actually, it relates to losing, because I did perceive it as a loss at the time, losing my big brother who's 12 years older than me that should have been my protector. He went into the army when I was 8. Literally a few weeks later, I started playing rugby in school. So almost as if the universe brought me another set of brothers.
Yeah.
And unconsciously, I've been seeking out brotherhood, and I'm still seeking brotherhood out now.
Yeah.
And that's why we do stuff with men, and that's why I'm continuing to do stuff with men. And now I have a healthy balance between one-on-ones and group work. But the group work, it's a need in me as well.
Yeah.
I'm good at it. I can bring teams together and facilitate safety and belief. But it also feeds my soul as well.
Well, on the back end of all that success, you know what I mean, in the early stages of your development, I know there was a time where you went on a journey of self-development then, wasn't there? And you almost said goodbye to rugby.
Yeah.
And I assume at the time you only knew where your filter was. Do you feel like it was even quite biased in your leadership until you found out a lot more about who you were with the journey of self-developing? You know, how did that point of contact, you could say, of where you were with leadership after all the success, how did that change? Because I know you went back to rugby.
Yeah.
You know, and you
well, my professional, next year's going to be my 30th year in professionalism, if you like.
Yeah.
And it's split into two, really. The first 15 years of my career was in professional rugby. You know, 2 Lions tours, World Cups, like the pinnacle, if you like. And the second is kind of my journey of self-discovery into Craigwhite mentoring, who I am now, leadership, men's work, and all that kind of stuff. And I have gone full circle. I am working in rugby again. But after 15 years in the game, full-time, working like a slave, I walked away from it. In 2009, I think it was.
And why was that? Was that because you maybe felt like it was just all about results?
Well,
to a degree with rugby.
But I had some kind of awakening.
Yeah, okay.
You know, I went on a 1-month yoga retreat with my ex-wife in 2009, and I'm working as a performance director for the Welsh rugby team.
Right.
Staff, lot of staff, nice office, nice car, living on the beach, loving Wales.
Good wages.
Ticking
all the boxes.
130 grand a year.
Yeah.
And this was like, I don't know, 16, 17 years ago. And 2009, I go to Thailand for a month. I'm stacked. I'm into gym. I'm not into yoga, but she wanted me to go. And it's probably the most significant month of my life in terms of my shift. You know, the first shift was probably odd carrying. And then this is a big shift. And what I realised looking back is I'd been on the go for 15 years, doer. Because I got rewards from doing, you see. Oh, look how hard Craig works. Yeah. He's in at 6, he's on at 6.
Look how good it is.
This guy's fucking amazing. Yeah. And it still exists,
but
it's changing. But back then, it was like, fucking hell.
Yeah.
It's like, if you work hard, you're rewarded.
Of course, yeah.
And my mum said that too. So...
but we do need to set the tone at some stage, don't we?
Of course. And I had this do as I do mentality as well, so I did want to be fucking first in.
Well, you place an expectation onto others. If you don't show up the way I'm showing up, you fucking, you know.
Exactly. So I went on this yoga retreat, and I realised that I'd never been still in 15 years. In fact, I've probably never been still my whole life. And as you know, yoga, and there's different types of yoga, whether it's a posture or a movement or a breathing exercise or some kind of meditation, it requires you to capture your attention and bring it in. And of course, my attention was always here.
Yeah.
To-do list, the future, this, that, blah, blah, blah. I ain't got time to stop. I can't stop.
Yeah.
And you have to stop.
Strategizing.
You have to stop, otherwise you're not doing yoga.
Yeah.
And I remember in the beginning, it was an intense yoga retreat for all day long, lectures in the evening time, practices, meditations, sitting in for long periods, holding postures for fucking 10 minutes. And I couldn't keep still. Sometimes I'd leave the room and my ex-wife would say, come back in.
Yeah.
I'll leave the room. I kept checking out. I couldn't stay in the energy field of it. We'd be meditating and I'd be itching and thinking, this meditation's shit. I need to quieten my thoughts, which you and I, is not true.
Yeah.
But because I was persistent, but also because I loved the lectures in the evening time, the philosophy and technology of yoga, and I was writing my own notes, it blew my fucking mind. I kept the practice going because I had the theory of what it could do, and so I did the physical practice, and it clicked, and I started to feel still, and I started to be able to witness my crazy mind, and I started to be able to feel my heart, and it was like, and I started to feel joy and bliss and expansion and dissolution of time and space.
Because there's leadership from the head, and then there's actually leadership from the heart.
For sure. So I connected
leadership
to my heart,
Yeah.
and I connected to something that I don't know what the fuck it was, but it was an experience of oneness.
Yeah.
And I wasn't religious, and I wasn't spiritual. I remember after that thinking, fuck, what the fuck is that? But at the same time, there was another side to it. Because I'd gone into my unconscious, right? I'd tapped into my unconscious mind. Not only did it bring potential out, and I remember you were good at art, Craig, and stuff, and I remember you were playful as a kid, and joy. It brought the dark stuff out.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because you can't have one without, do they?
It brought dark stuff out. Wow.
Yeah.
Maybe your mum's not an angel.
Yeah.
You know, maybe your dad's not as weak as you think he is. Why are you still angry towards your brother?
Yeah.
Why can't you cry?
Yeah.
Why you snap it with your girlfriend? Why do you get anxious whenever you're challenged by a woman? It's like all this stuff is like, whoa.
And that moment can be really scary as well.
Yeah.
It can be a breakthrough, but it can be overwhelming as well, because you become conscious of your unconscious.
Well, it was. But I was in Thailand. I was on the beach. I was with my yoga buddies.
Yeah.
It was awesome. I was with my new tribe.
Yeah.
And I thought everything would be fine, but I went back into my job. I go in on day one, put my tracksuit on, sat at my desk, my staff's in front of me. I look at the wall, I'm thinking, what the fuck are you doing here? In a month, it just didn't make sense.
Yeah.
But what I did was I projected my pain onto rugby.
Yes.
At the time, because I was frightened.
Yeah.
I was like, rugby's shit. Rugby's egoic. I hate rugby. What am I doing teaching men to fucking carry a leather ball? And so I projected it. And it took me a while, about a year and a half, I left. So that was the end of my full-time rugby career, and I went to live in Thailand for 6 months, and that was the start of chapter 2, if you like, in my professional leadership journey.
So almost like chapter 2, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, like...
Yeah.
How old was you there, Craig?
Chapter 2 probably started about 15 years ago. I would have been...
Mid-30s?
I would have been 37.
Right. So, you know, almost like this first half of your life, you know what I mean? 37, everything that's happened, and then this radical awakening in Thailand, you know, where you see all your stuff, and then, you know, and it gives you the opportunity to definitely investigate it, contemplate it, review it. But almost it was potentially undeniable that I want to explore it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know, and sometimes that comes from, you know, that curious place, the direct experience of almost this mysticism or awakening. But I also assume like a little bit of reasoning with, you know what? I fucking had enough of that.
Yeah.
I had enough of that life. You know what I mean?
also exhausted it because I studied like crazy, and it wasn't interesting anymore.
Yeah. You know, so it become mundane. Yeah. You know, and you're a man that likes to be excited.
Yeah, and talking about sets and reps and sports science and GPS.
You were done with it.
Fucking done with it.
Yeah. So, you know, this esoteric life, you know, or this realm of mystery. Yeah. You know what I mean? You know, I mean, because you've been on a magical mystery tour, haven't you? You know what I mean? You know, in so many different containers. Yeah. So how did then relating to, you know, leading your own ship? Yeah. What journey did you go on there?
Well, that was what it was about, first of all, and that's actually for me, it has to be the first component in the leadership program that I'm going to create, a 3-year leadership program. Year 1's going to be leading self. And to lead self, you have to reveal the layers of self.
Yeah.
You have to move closer to the real you, and then play the game of life. Who am I? What do I identify with? What's important to me? What's not important to me? What's my vision? What's my mastery? How do I lead? How do I communicate? But you have to go into yourself to reveal that. So, you know, my brother thought I was selfish.
Yeah.
You know, for a while, and maybe I was, but I just needed to know who the real Craig White was, or whatever that meant.
Who he's become.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And who he's not, and what he needs to let go of, and
yeah.
So I just went on a fucking crazy journey of self-discovery. You know what I'm like? I love to learn things about myself, and about anything really, and
there's almost no right or wrong pathway for self-discovery. Is that it comes in many forms?
Well, it could even come in fatherhood.
Of course.
It doesn't.
But it does come in fatherhood. It comes in marriage.
Yeah, I didn't have kids.
Yeah.
So my revealing is different to yours and different to someone else's.
Of course.
I was just like, let's fucking go. Therapy, NLP, shadow work, psychedelics, yoga teacher training, meditation
silent
teacher
retreats,
training, silent
meditation.
retreats, not speaking, fasting on water for long periods of time, sitting in darkness for 10 days, another yoga teacher training program, a leadership program, going on a men's retreat, going on another men's retreat, tantra retreats. You know, the reason I'm speaking fast is I want to come to the essence of what I've learnt over the past 15 years. So the past 15 years has been, within my psyche and my body, a reclamation of what I was afraid to express growing up, a reclamation of what I perceived wasn't safe to express growing up.
Yeah.
For example, I now have a spiritual side of me, because the spiritual side of me growing up was shamed and repressed. Well, you're not about talking about God, and stop asking big questions. I don't know the meaning of life. You know, and growing up in a Catholic school where I was an altar boy, you know, stereotyped, suppressed.
Yeah.
One God.
Confined.
The Holy Ghost, the Bible. And all of a sudden, I'm perceiving religion and spirituality in its purest sense. So I reclaimed that part of me. I reclaimed the playful side of me. I reclaimed the part that wasn't so rigid and linear. You know, I could, all of a sudden, my body was starting to get lighter, and I could kind of, you know, I could move in multi-directional ways, and my tension was disappearing in my shoulder and my jaw where I used to hold anger, and you know, I could still call on the masculine alpha commanding leader. That'll never go away, because it's needed sometimes. But I was accessing all these parts of me. You know, I managed to claim the capacity to cry, even though it's a constant challenge. But accessing tears, feeling the relief in that, being okay with feeling anxiety, being more present with women in relationships, learning to communicate, because I was a shit communicator. Even when I worked for Wales, I was a shit communicator. I used to think everybody saw the world the way I did, and everybody had the same values as me. I tried to get rid of 2 staff members because of that, even though I just didn't realise that they had different qualities to me. I expected them to be like me. I wouldn't do that now. I used to tell people what to do instead of being attuned with them and asking them skillful questions. So my last 15 years has also been a massive journey into communication, body language, how the body shows up, somatic leadership, tone of voice, presentation skills, using different parts of the body to cultivate presence and safety, different types of questions and feedback scenarios.
This is the levels of leadership though, Craig, isn't it? You know, where to actually see where somebody's at. Do you know what I mean? And not actually to tell them what to do, because you can't actually tell anyone what to do, can you? You know, when you say communication,
especially with sportsmen.
You know, there's so much ego, you know, there, and obviously there's sometimes we need that stoic accountability, and that directness. But I know, you know, being in and around you, and also witnessing people that you've worked with, is that the way you communicate now is through suggestions and invitations. you know, and revealing a platform of possibility, you know, finding that uniqueness for that client, seeing, you know, where they're at, who they've become, the potential of where they could go, you know, and having almost these like universal tactics and containers, but with your own direct experience, you know.
Yeah, of course.
Not, you've been a coach for so long, but you've gone into the depths of your own individual, you know, experience. And for me, there becomes then a level of like, well, I trust this guy because he's not taking me somewhere he hasn't been before himself.
Exactly. Well, I've always led that way, actually.
I know you have.
But I was limited in a certain way in the beginning. Like, I've developed more range, and I think that's what we do, isn't it? We develop more range.
Absolutely.
But you mentioned the word direct experience, which is really significant. Really significant. One of the areas that I've reclaimed, which is still a challenge because it's, I mean, nobody teaches us, is, let's call it emotional intelligence, right? But it's fucking misunderstood, Martin. It's a buzzword at the moment. And people think you can read a book on emotional intelligence, you can do a podcast on emotional intelligence, you can sit in front of someone and imagine being in their shoes. It's fucking impossible. If you want to connect to someone else at the level of emotion, you have to have a direct experience of what those emotions feel like in your body.
Yeah.
As an example. So if you're one of my clients or one of my players and I don't have a healthy relationship with my anger, when you get angry, you will trigger the fucking life out of me.
Yeah.
If I've not felt my sorrow, grief and my sadness in my body and I felt it move through me, if I see you being tearful or sobbing or being sad, I will judge you as being weak.
Yeah.
So that's emotional leadership.
Yeah.
You have to do your own embodied somatic work to feel it, whether that's through therapy, psychedelics, raising your kids, going into nature, screaming at the top of a mountain, don't matter, but you have to do the physical work to cultivate that direct experience.
Well, I think selfishly what you and I have both come to, and what it's totally give birth to in doing a lot of this work and leading men and coaching men in different containers, is that it's absolutely activated and cultivated so much more compassion.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, because, you know, we know what that guy is, you know, we can feel that man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We may not have exactly the same story, but we can feel him. We're not judging them.
Yeah.
We can feel him.
Yeah.
And what's also beautiful in doing group work is that we create the conditions where another man may have a transformational experience through somebody else's feeling or direct
100%.
experience.
Group work accelerates emotional intelligence. I'm glad you brought that into the circle here. It's really important. You met me. I wasn't as compassionate 7 years ago as I am now. But the pain I've witnessed in other men.
Yeah.
And the joy.
Yeah, of course.
And the laughter and the bliss. Everything has made me more embodied and able to be with my own emotions, even though it's still a work in progress.
Of course. Well, it always is a work in progress, Craig. Yeah. There's no cap on it, is there?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It just becomes a returning, or the word you've been using is a reclaiming. Yeah. You know, so we just actually learn how to reclaim more of ourselves more quickly. Do you know what I mean? So we can be more embodied in fullness. Yeah. Because for me, then, you know, there's that fullness is authentic, heart-centered, transformational leadership, is it not?
1,000,000%. The other thing I've done as well, which, and again, I'm glad we're having these conversations because I'm getting more awareness about myself, is there's a whole embodiment piece of getting in touch with my body.
Yeah.
You know, these yogic practices, hallucinogenics, time in nature, breath work, all that kind of stuff, where I'm able to feel more of who I am and reclaim some of what I repressed, right? There's that piece.
Yeah.
But there's also the piece where my strategic mind, because I do have a strategic mind, has come in handy as well.
Yeah.
Like I've got a document on my laptop, and it's called Knowing Myself, and it's got a photo of me now, and it's within that document is everything I've ever done in my self-development journey. It's got a section on my past, you know, what shaped me in the past, my triggers from the past, dysfunctional family systems, what dysfunctional roles I played in my family, the way my mum and dad showed up and some of their dysfunctional roles. It's got my gratitude list, 22 people from my past who I'm grateful for. I've had to clean up my past and fix some certain relationships. It's got a section on who I am now and what drives me and what my kingdom is in terms of my drivers. I call it my inner GPS system. And then I've got a piece on vision. You know, who am I becoming over the next few years? What does that look like? Boom, boom, what are my goals? So I've managed to combine both.
Yeah.
You know, because life's a fucking game. And okay, maybe we have a awakening and we connect to spirit and we become spiritual, but you can't live in heaven. You've got to live on this earth.
Yeah.
This is where the work is needed.
Yeah.
And to live on this earth, there's no fucking rule book.
No.
So you have to decide who the fuck you want to be.
Yeah.
Who do you want to be?
Yeah.
How do you identify yourself? What do you call yourself?
Yeah.
Are you going to wake up in the morning? What time are you going to go to bed? What are you going to do when you wake up? Where do you invest your time? Who do you spend your time with? What do you want your future to look like?
Yeah.
It's a game.
Yeah.
You used to call yourself a lifestyle architect.
Yeah.
We have to be that.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, we're fucking driven by someone else's rule book.
Well, we subordinate to other people's
and
narrative.
we can't be authentic.
Yeah. Well, we live an uninspired, inauthentic life. You know, it takes courage to lead your own ship. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think, you know, there's this herd, you know, mentality where most people are led, you know what I mean? And, you know, they're penned in through the narrative of fear, do you know what I mean? Or scarcity, you know. So unfortunately, you know, as a collective, most people are brought into, you know, into the world with all this baggage and then the mentality or the attitude around life is I haven't got enough. And then underneath that is I'm not enough.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So, and I know a big part of the work we offer and mentor is giving people the opportunity to reclaim a sense of self, to resurrect, you know, a nervous system that feels competent and confidence.
And then rewrite the story.
And rewrite the story. But to rewrite a story, Craig, you also have to learn how to let go of an old story.
Of course.
And you have to be prepared to let go of the old story.
Yeah.
And the reason people struggle with this is because the story of the past is the story of the known. The story of the future is the story of the unknown.
Of course.
And to create that bridge going from the known to the unknown is one in the present moment. Is going from what's familiar to what's unfamiliar is scary as fuck.
It is, yeah.
And that's where mentorship comes in, isn't it?
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
100%. My clients always say to me, I'm just about to work with you. Is it going to work? What happens if it doesn't work? I'm scared as fuck.
Yeah. They're the clients you want because underneath that there's a will, isn't there?
Yeah.
There's a will, there's a curiosity, there's a thirst. You know what I mean? Yeah. And they're the dream clients, aren't they? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, they're the clients who like they're coming in our direction. They're paying for our services, and then and all we're doing is we're not telling them what to do. We're making invitations and suggestions, and this is where I know I've deepened into my sense of coaching and mentorship, where, you know, I'm letting them know I'm not responsible for your life. Yeah. You know what I mean? You know, I'm sharing universal tactics. I'm also sharing, you know, my own direct experience. You know, I'm helping you to reframe your belief systems, but the fucking work is on you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And actually giving them the power to go, actually, it is on me. Because I know from my experience as well, people give their power to me, and they've probably done it to you. You know what I mean? Where I said I want it. Yeah. You know, and for me, that's a real mature leader.
Yeah.
Where they're not, you know, resting in that sort of Messiah complex, so to speak. You know what I mean?
Save me.
It's not my job to save anyone. And so there's blind spots around leadership, Craig, isn't there?
For sure.
You know, that, you know, we have to be aware of, and we have to clean up, because in this wellness space, in the space of coaching and leadership, you know, I wouldn't say there's necessarily charlatans out there, which there is, but there are, you know, there's a lot of leakiness and immaturity around, you know, coaching, which can have almost a potential disadvantage in people's growth and transformation, isn't there? You know, so, you know, what would you say you know, to people moving towards wellness nowadays, you know, who do need some sense of leading? Where do you look? I mean, who inspires you? Because I know you still have your mentors and leaders, don't you? You know, people who you do personal work with.
Yeah, I just take nuggets from... I'm very careful, Martin, what comes through my senses. Because, you know, we are a product of what comes into our nervous system.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm very careful what I look at, what I watch, what I read, who I spend my time with. I'm very careful of what I listen to.
Yeah.
Really careful. You know, conversations from people, talking on the phone. Who am I going to allow to talk to me? The music I listen to, the sounds around me. I'm very careful on, you know, what I say, or I'm more careful, if you like. And I'm careful about what I do with my body and how I move my body and what I put into my body. So that's a critical piece. But look, this is not a leadership conversation about, you know, can you define leadership? Principles of leadership. Tell me what the Harvard fucking steps of leadership are. It's not that. But what I do want to say is something you say a lot, and I like it a lot, and I feel it more and more in myself, is you often say, I'm not leading, I'm just being myself.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm getting closer to just being myself. But you can't just be yourself if you don't define who the fuck you are and how you want to show up in the world.
Yeah.
So there is a big piece of self-awareness work needed before we can naturally embody being ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when I sort of begin to reflect upon my own journey with leadership, I know there's this sense of self-worth. You know, I'm very aware. It starts with awareness, Craig. But I'm very aware of what I'm consuming nowadays. I'm also very aware of what I'm projecting onto the world. And I'm still learning, you know, and you know, I'm not perfect, but I accept where I'm at, and I'm always showing up in that awareness. But for me, there's within this deepening, there's almost a confirming, a real deep, quiet confirmation of like sureness. Do you know what I mean? I'm sure in myself, you know, and I'm prepared to at least make decisions, you know, and I try to stay as close as I can to a mentality of win-win, and that is an abundant mindset where there's enough for everyone and we can all do well, you know, and so really indulging, feasting in that abundance. But for me recently, I you know, I really own that I'm a leader. You know what I mean? And I've led people. Yeah. You know, there's a sense of influence that I just naturally have upon people, and it's been there for a very long time. And I think for me, there's like leadership from the front. I've always almost been like at the front. Do you know what I mean? Just leading the way, almost bringing people along. Yeah. You know, but there's a little bit of leadership happening now from the back. Yeah. Where I'm leading, because I'm leading from the back now. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Where I'm almost pushing people forward. I'm happy. I'm a private man. You know, as much as I'm out there in the world and I'm a social butterfly, I'm also, you know, I really know now what I like and where I want to place my attention and how I want to manage my time. Yeah. And that influence naturally pours out into the world, whether I'm coaching or not coaching. You know, like I'm influencing people like my missus, you know what I mean? The way I operate life, she's learning. Do you know what I mean? My kids learning, friends are learning. But I'm also the student. And it's something I'm really careful to be humbled by, is that I'm also a student here, and I'm learning all the time. You know what I mean? Not just through the perceived heroes and mentors, but I'm learning, you know, from life and the you know, the average bloke and woman on the street. Of course. And that humbles me, because we can learn lessons all the time. And for me, that brings me into this humility, you know, and I think we have to live with deep humility, don't we? 100%. That we're a part of something, You know what I mean? And and we can influence, but it's also like, wow, I want to be in the crowd as well. Do you know what I mean? For me, I want to be in the crowd. That's why I like, going to festivals and things. I just love being in the crowd. Love being on stage. But I love being in the crowd. And for me, it's such a humbling experience, I want to stand side by people, Craig. I'm not above or below anyone.
Me too. Me too.
Because some people get really attached, don't they?
Me too, but I need to be, because I know myself, it's more of a balancing act for me. Because I was kind of raised like an only child from the age of 8, so I love being amongst people, but I gotta check out sometimes and refill my cup. You know?
Definitely.
You said something then that's often not spoken about in leadership, and it's really smart, and it's something that I base my leadership on, and it's not easy, is whenever I'm supporting someone or seen as leading a man or a team, for example, it has to be a win-win. If it wasn't a win-win, then I'd never say no to clients. And they get me when I was tired, they get me when I was pissed off, they get me when I was irritable, and I wouldn't be my best self. So for me, it has to be a win-win. I'm not a fucking martyr. If it's a win-win, I'm totally present. I'm attuned with you. That's the other thing we've not spoke about here as well. The most important component of leadership is being attuned, as I am with you now, with your client or your team. And we're coming back to the body. Attunement is in the body. It's like, if my attention is on giving the best speech in the world and making sure I get it right, I'm not present, I'm not attuned. But if I'm giving a presentation and we've done an attunement practice beforehand, a self-regulation practice, I'm grounded into the earth, I feel my legs, I'm breathing into my belly, I'm connecting with the vertical, my jaw's relaxed, my breath is just, and my attention is here, I'm attuned with you. And that's how people can really feel seen.
And also you're trusting in your abilities, aren't you? I think also a good mentor and leader is also is understanding that there's certain containers, or there's certain things that a client might bring to you that you're not an expert in. And so it's important to have a team around you.
100%.
I know some people come in my direction and they're looking for X, Y, and Z, and it's like, I can help you with that, and that, but I can't help you with that. Do you know what I mean? Essential. And and so I know when people come in my direction, there's 3 or 4 people I would recommend and do recommend that are much more skilled in that field. You know what I mean? And so not be attached to a client. A lot of people are teaching, because they like the idea of it, or they like the sense of accolade. Oh, I've done that. You know what I mean? And it's
a process we all need to go through.
Absolutely, too, we're all teaching each other, aren't we? So it's seeing that actually we're all being led and leading our environments 24/7.
I mean, I'm certainly not going to sit here and say I don't like to be liked. I like to be liked.
Well, I mean, we come back to the win-win. Do you know what I mean? Exactly. Like, I want to work with clients who are inspired, have an aspiration for growth. You know what I mean? But who are prepared to do some work. But also want to pay me. You know what I mean? They want to pay me fee to say I'm worthy of this. You know what I mean? And so let's go on a journey together. And to attune, and then that requires communication and negotiation, and they're the fundamentals that as a coach we agree on. You know what I mean? But without any obligation. I'm not attached to anything. I'm not attached to anyone. You know what I mean? If someone wants to work with me and just do one session, no problem. But I do, sometimes it does require a little bit of a commitment.
Of course.
Because if you gather some consistency and you've got a committed client, then at least over a period of time, you can't do 360 on your life. But transformation is ongoing. And it's organic as well. You can't force these things.
Of course.
So I think, we were speaking before about strategy, momentum. I've got a client I've been working with since 2019. I pretty much see him every fortnight. But to see his transformation, to zoom out and to see how he navigates his life, from his professional to his personal career, how he navigates his conversations and everything we've done plays out in his life. you know, but it's not like, oh, I've done that.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, we did that together.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's a togetherness, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, so it's the win-win. Which is the win-win is it's its own philosophy, Craig, isn't it? You know what I mean? I think we haven't become very good at communication in our culture. You know, there's a lot of expectations and assumptions we place onto the world and are placed upon us. You know, and so sometimes there's a lack of transparency, isn't there?
Yeah.
So I think through communication and negotiation, you know, we can create these conditions where both parties are happy and grounded, and then, you know, and we build trust. That for me is great leadership, is long-term relationships. You know what I mean? You're building trust.
No, especially with men, because men need consistency.
But without the communication, by default, most people end up in a lose-lose scenario. You know what I mean? And that creates more separation.
Yeah.
And our job as leaders, as mentors, as people, is to try and bridge the gap of what's separated back to this feeling of connection. So, having said that, Craig, what is next for you on your leadership journey?
Oh, wow. I'm still learning. I invest a lot in my learning. I'm still kind of on this journey of getting deeper in touch with my emotions, and that comes through movement practice and breathwork practice and retreats. So I still do retreats for myself. I'm also fascinated by helping clients reveal their own unique leadership style. So I'm doing a course in September in Chicago, which is with Gallup. It's a course that certifies me to be a strengths-based leadership course, a leadership coach. Yeah, I like it. Yeah. I like the philosophy. It's about focusing on your strengths, not your weaknesses. So that interests me, especially with work with teams and potentially in the corporate space. And apart from that, I'm just working with clients, and in the back of my head, because I'm a visionary and I can see the future, which I can see what's going to happen to a degree. Soon I'm going to be starting the process of creating my own leadership program, a 3-year leadership program for men predominantly, which brings this level of consistency and a group support and accountability that men need. Men don't need just a one-off retreat like we used to give them. They need more consistency. So I'm busy creating, really, and traveling at the same time.
Because you know, you have a big value in travel, don't you?
Yeah, I love it.
You live this life where you're traveling around, you're getting around the globe. You know, you're working with, you know, you're in that win-win space, working with really, you know, with clients who want to work with yourself, but ever expanding. You know what I mean? You know, always learning, always refining. And I think that's, you know, a way to finish off with today is like, you're always just refining, isn't it? Like tightening the screws, you know, and exploring new modalities, but with this undercurrent of connection, you know what I mean? And manhood and integrity, which is almost, you know, the cornerstones, isn't it? Of being a human. You know, when we go beyond masculinity, it's actually, okay, there's a humanness here.
100%. It's about humanness. I'm glad you said that. Sometimes I even get triggered these days as I get older. I even get triggered when someone talks about what is a man and what is a woman and what is masculine and what is feminine, because at the level of what the world needs, it's about
balance,
restoring
I
humanness.
mean, and you know,
who are we at the human level, you know?
And
what are we? How does it feel?
And for me, humanness is cooperative, isn't it? It's not competitive. You know, it's generative.
Of course.
There's warmth and gentleness and kindness. You know, and I think if we can get closer to them virtues.
Me too.
And you know, and have that mindset of almost navigating your days where you can anchor them qualities. Like, we're doing all right, aren't we?
We are, mate.
You know.
Yeah, it's not about man against woman, it's just about human beings.
Craig, it's been an absolute pleasure to interview you today. I love, you know, being in your company as always. I've loved watching your own transformation over the many years. You know, we've become friends, and I get a real sense, you know, personally and selfishly, that, you know, our connection is always deepening. You know, and it's just I'm excited for you as well. You know, I know that there's you really, you know, almost transcend your sense of age, and always in the you know, this the playground of life. You know, really just doing your thing, being yourself. And yeah, I'm really I'm chuffed to be a part of it. So thank you.
Thanks, mate. So good to be interviewed by you. Thank you for the good questions.
Yeah.
Wow, it's hot in here, right?
Yeah, it's roasting.
Whew.
Yeah. So we'll I think maybe we'll go for a little shandy if you're up for it. And I think you're paying for dinner.
I'll pay for dinner, mate.
All right, come on then, let's do it.
Okay, so hope you enjoyed this podcast, this episode of Dare to Be Different. I'll see you on the next one.